I'm Tyghe Nielsen, I'm 36 years old, and I'm living with stage 4 colorectal cancer. Well, I grew up in Goodland, Kansas. It's a small town about 15 miles from the Colorado border. I was a kid, I think, just playing sports and having fun was a big part of my life, and continued through high school and college, and actually took a short break between high school and several years of college before I started swimming again at KU as a senior. So,
by the time he was probably 3, we had a pool in our backyard, and he was out there swimming in it with his water wings and swimming across that pool faster than anybody, just with wings on. It was fun to watch.
When I was swimming as a kid, it came really easy to me, except there was a couple of friends that were equally as good, and so we shared first and second. We just kind of touched each other out, and when we weren't swimming, we were great friends. But as soon as the gun went off, I hated these guys for 30 seconds or 2 minutes or whatever it was. So
if you're around when Ty loses, it's not pretty. I mean, he takes everything really seriously. He's extremely competitive. He just doesn't take it well.
Being sort of naturally inclined to swim and having success with that as a kid, I don't think set me up very well for things later on, because not everything comes that easy, I guess. So. The morning I woke up, I had no idea that afternoon I would make this decision. I was going to try to walk onto the KU swim team.
I do remember him saying that he was going to join the KU swim team. At this point, he was a senior, and I was like, why are you doing this? This doesn't make any sense. And he said, because I can. He goes, I think I can, and I'm going to do it.
That was the hardest thing I'd ever done. By far the hardest thing I'd ever done, physically and mentally.
After that experience of swimming and pushing himself to that limit, he knows he can do anything, basically.
Everything he says he's gonna do, he does it. No matter how hard it is, no matter how long it takes him, he does it. It's remarkable.
I remember thinking later, when things were really tough, I'd remember back like how hard it was to swim, having not really done that as a kid, and then taking several years off after I got to college. So it gave me a context, I guess, or I learned how to go to a different place and push myself beyond what I thought I was capable of. Yeah, I remember distinctly the day that I found out. I was just a few days away from my 33rd birthday, and I distinctly remember I was in the parking lot waiting to pick up Kyler, and I got a call from my surgeon, who I had actually rotated through with one of my rotations, and I remember he said, we have a problem. I said, what do you mean? And he said, you've got tumors all throughout your liver. So I remember just being sort of stunned, and I drove home with Kyler, and just sort of silently, it didn't really hit me right away. And so I remember I had to take her home, and I needed to go back in town for something. So I called Oliver right away and told him, hey, we got a problem.
I went into a phone room, and he told me that it was cancerous. And I remember at the time everything kind of collapsing down.
One of the first things he said was, all right, so what do we got to do to beat this?
Go back to my project management days, where we had to work this problem, find out our next steps, figure out what to do about this problem. And it didn't really emotionally hit me till probably an hour or two later, when I told my wife about it. But it was a shock. It was a big shock.
And I tell people that I was devastated for a couple of hours, maybe a couple of days, honestly. But that changed my life. But I had sort of decided, shortly after that there's got to be a way around this. There's got to be a way to beat this. So
honestly, I just couldn't imagine something like that happening to him. And it wasn't fear that came through me. It was, I know he'll beat it. I don't care how bad the odds were. If there's a 1% chance, I know Ty is that 1%, and he's the guy that can do it.
When I found out that by being diagnosed with this type of cancer at this stage, that the survival rate is 8% at 5 years, I immediately thought, how do I get to that 8%? just started to, approach it from day one as, what am I going to have to do to win? So that that changed the game for me in a lot of ways. But there's been a lot of blessings that have come from that, and one of those is having more time with my family. Another one of those is having the time to start this foundation and hopefully have more of an impact than I would if I was seeing one patient at a time in some ER somewhere. So
I feel like for some reason he was meant to have this and fight this fight and be a face that's maybe a little bit different. Maybe somebody hasn't seen someone quite like him, and be an inspiration to people on the way to live with cancer. Well, I'd say that what I noticed, Tyghe's inspiration for Drown Out Cancer, it came on a couple different levels. I'd say the first one is he had a good friend of his named Linda Lease pass away at the beginning of the year in January.
Tyghe and Linda had been conversing about their treatments throughout the entire thing. Her diagnosis, his diagnosis, her treatment, and his treatment. And they were kind of along the same path.
He had only met Linda face-to-face once, maybe twice, but they had this very intimate connection because they were both dealing with the exact same disease.
Tyghe thought that in that case that she had gotten to the point in treatment that the cancer was gone, or that it was in remission, and they had gotten herself on a financial footing where she didn't have to go to work every day and deal with things. And then you come beginning of 2013, and one weekend he texted me and said Linda had died. And it shocked all of us. We had no idea that she had gotten that bad that fast. As far as we knew, everything was going great. We saw pictures of her on Facebook. She was looking good and out with her husband Rich, and it hit him hard and it hit me hard too.
And that shook him really hard. He perceived her as a person healthier than him, that probably took better care of herself than him, and it really shook him. And I think at that point he started to think, why am I here? Why am I different than her? Why do I deserve to be here and her not?
So we went to Linda's funeral, and I think when he got to sit there and watch what the family went through having to bury their mom, he wasn't sure how to deal with that.
So I remember being at Linda's service, and I think a lot of people that are diagnosed with cancer, one of the first questions they have is, why me? So I'd always wondered, why me? But then I distinctly remember at Linda's service, why am I still here?
He and I both kind of thought about that for a couple days, and I told him, I said, he wasn't sure how to feel about it. It really shocked him. He wasn't sure what to do with the emotion. And I told him, I said, you've got to channel this emotion somehow.
And so, obviously I'm still here, and I was able to get back in the pool, and I have the time to do this, and I felt like I'd been relying on other people for 3 years, and now I felt like I've always sort of been waiting for some sort of message to tell me this is what you're supposed to do. So that day when I was swimming in the pool, it just became clear that I needed to do something, and this is what it was going to be. And so
after Linda died and after we went to her funeral, I said, you need to be part of this cure. You don't need to be sitting around here waiting for the cure.
That's when I decided I need to start a foundation to use swimathons and swimming as a platform, not only for this year's event, but hopefully for an annual event that takes place across the country, where people can raise money and they can decide which type of cancer that they want this money to go towards, and we'll find those institutions or those non-for-profit companies that have the same vision that we do to help eradicate cancer. And so it just became clear to me that this was something that I needed to do.
So the Drown Out Cancer event, the day, I guess, it's kind of turned into a kind of a twofold event. The main event for the day is going to be the swimming.
We're going to have kids from as big as can get in the pool up to as old as can get in the pool. People are going to swim as far as they can, and in some cases the money that they raise is based on the amount of laps that they achieve. We're going to be giving out some prizes to every age group. A lot of little kids will be able to get swim P3s and stuff like that, and there's bigger prizes for the bigger people.
You can also sign up with our website and just raise money for the cause yourself. You don't have to actually get in the pool and swim. It's a great way for kids in the Kansas City area, Lawrence area, Topeka area to get in, help raise some money for these causes. All the money is going to go to the KU Cancer Research and Endowment and the Kansas Research Foundation.
Then after that, we're going to head over to Will Jenny's and have an auction, silent auction, live auction, have some really cool things that we're going to auction off to raise money. And then we're going to have Travis Marvin, who's going to sing, and we just want to really have a good time.
So it's kind of turned into, a whole day, kind of calling it the second wind event, where people come and get their awards and then do the auction.
All these little things that have played into where we are today, I think I'd be sort of a fool to think that there wasn't, some higher purpose here. And so, hopefully, that proves to be true on the 27th of April.